Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along. Monday night, 8 p.m. The Live Lounge returns after a hiatus because of the little tournament called the World Grand Prix. I'm Phill, Buzz, Jack Garland, Lee Boyce. We are all here for the next few hours. Gentlemen, how are we?
All good. Knackered. Tired. All of the above. Sam?
Yeah, all good here. I don't mind as much as Jack, so yeah, all good.
After spending 3 days with you, mate, I completely disagree. Well, they got no iron. It weren't me that spilled chips in the taxi, honest. The only one with chips open.
Wasn't me.
Yeah.
Oh, anyone think Gob's not used to this working in darts malarkey yet?
Busy man, mate.
You know the rules. Every hour spent working. There's always darts on. But welcome along, chat room as well. Hope we are all good. Loads in already, which is great to see. Tommy, Max, ABM, Malachi, Owen, Bob, Kieran, Craig, Bill, Matthew, Charlie, Zane, Jack, Paddy is in. Raf, how we all doing? It's been a mental period since the last time we were on here, boys.
Isn't that always the case?
Yeah, but even more so now, probably. Now we go into silly season.
Yeah, I think we're down into silly season, as you've said, but with an awful lot of announcements that seem to happen every week. As Dob alluded to a couple of weeks back, seem to happen on a Monday when they normally drop, and then obviously there's just non-stop darts in all different organisations, including one of the biggest majors of the year. So very, very busy couple of weeks.
Yeah, look, it is just absolutely mental at the moment. But look, we'd rather have it that way than nothing to do. Let me just plug this in. I'm just going to go dead. There we go. Yeah, look, we'd rather have it that way than nothing at all. But first of all, let's go straight in. We have a new major champion. Congratulations to Luke Humphries winning the Ball Sports World Grand Prix. Before we dive into Luke getting his name on the roll of honour, chat room as well, what was your first thoughts of the tournament as a whole? Kieran, I'm going to start that. We'll come on to that because that is in the talking points. How are we doing, Love Darts? So, first thoughts overall, boys, of the tournament.
Leicester is crap.
I'll elaborate on that point. Venue-wise, I'm never impressed with it. Performances, I thought it was a good tournament, a very good tournament. A lot of high quality. It's always difficult to compare it because a lot of the times we look at stats and numbers and you just can't make that straight comparison with the Grand Prix and anything else. But I thought generally it was a good tournament. Just disappointing that the Leicester crowd behaved the way that the Leicester crowd behaved, I guess. A lot of the time. Some nights was okay.
We'll break it down. First of all, I thought it was a slow burner. I thought early the standard wasn't particularly good. There was a few standout performances, but I thought it was a slow burner and took a while to get going in terms of performances.
I think if you go back and look, stats-wise, I don't think that backs it up.
It might not do, but just
at the first ever game in round one where both players averaged over 95, like we saw, like we had some stinkers, but you get that in that format. But I still don't think it was terrible games and terrible averages. Like if they were bad averages, they were both missing at the same time. Like it made for good darts or watchable matches again.
I just thought it felt very boring, for want of a better word. And Gezi summed it up in one of his interviews. He was like, "I don't think anyone's played well yet."
I think we had some flat performances, and there's some players who lost first round who are just never envisaged that being the case. And it wasn't the fact that they lost; it was the manner of how they lost. And I know we'll dive into the first round shortly, but I still thought it was generally a decent opening. It's just that it's very brutal, isn't it? It's always been discussed. The first round of the Grand Prix is very, very brutal.
It's too. The whole tournament, I think, is too short. We'll come on to that in a minute, but we will talk about the crowd. There was one night that we were chatting in WhatsApp, and we didn't have the sound on upstairs, so didn't hear it. But obviously, last night there was one table, I'm going to say it, of moronic fucking idiots that from the moment they got in there were just singing the song that I'm not obviously going to say on here because we'll get taken down, but they were just singing the song that every generic Englishman seems to sing to the Welsh, which is just poor.
I love how you're not going to sing the song, but you have just called them fucking moronic within the first 10 minutes, which means the chance of this being monetized is very slim anyway. But yeah, there was like two guys stood up for the entire night, just basically willing the crowd to try and do exactly the same. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be there and saw them doing it. Nobody around them sits them down, does it? Because of pissed or something else or whatever. The only other bad night, I think, was Wednesday when Martin Schindler played against Stephen Bunting.
Yeah.
Other than that, I thought the rest of it was okay. There's a couple of things to note within that.
Yes, really, that one.
When the crowd is that small, if somebody does start something like that, it's more noticeable. But B, the fact the crowd was that small anyway, I don't think there was that much going on. Apart from those two. I'm not excusing it, by the way.
Do you think the more that's happened this year, the likelihood of it not being there this year, next year, sorry, it's not been announced in Leicester, has it, next year?
Unless they find somewhere in Dublin, I don't see where else it goes in the UK is the issue.
Well, I guess there's two parts to it. One, obviously, there's looking at Dublin and return it there. And two, that from what I can see from the calendar, it's moved back to how it used to be in Ireland, where the final's on the Saturday night and not on the Sunday, which is that a bit of a sort of hint that it could be returning that way? Well, obviously, when the tournaments are in England, it's predominantly that the finals would be on a Sunday, not on a Saturday.
I think that they've obviously Matt's name in every interview that he's done. Matt has made no secret of they want to go back to Ireland with a week-long tournament. He's made no secret of that. So I think they have to plan it that way because the rules in Ireland are different to the UK. So they have to plan it as if it's going to be there for that date. Because if they plan it the other way and then they can find somewhere in Ireland, it's all askew. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the problem is that arena is pretty much a matchroom venue. That obviously you were there, Gob. There's posters all over the wall advertising snooker, ping pong, 10-pin bowling. You name every sport that Matchroom does. There's pretty much an event on there in the next 12 months. So I don't see where else if Ireland isn't an option, I don't see where they take it in the UK.
Wales.
I agree with you, but I don't think they will.
And then when Gezi gets beat, he can stop with that line at the end.
I think my opinion is it will be either back in Ireland or it will be in Leicester again. And look, I just don't think it works.
No, I don't think it does. I think it needs to change. We're not talking about a Premier League night where it's just once a year. We're talking about one of the biggest tournaments of the year over 7 nights. It needs to be at a venue that's going to be well supported. I've just seen the comment about a 6 p.m. midweek. Yeah, I agree that you are going to have that struggle, but the only way you change that is by increasing the nights.
You need an extra day, if not, or an extra 2 sessions.
Yeah, so the only way that changes.
What makes it look worse than it actually is that tier at the back as well. Like, because it just looks so empty throughout the week. The issue with the venue itself is that a lot of other venues where they go to this or put events or whatever are show venues. So the rigging available in the ceiling is so much greater that you can cut off parts of the arena if you're not using it, if you need it, etc. But it doesn't have that because it's got 2 great big basketball hoops that swing down because it is a basketball venue for the riders. Unless they move, they've got a new practice facility, unless they move their match facility into the other building as well, which I can't see it because of the great big tier seating they've got. Yeah. That's always going to be an issue unless they can get a rig with some sort of curtain across that seating and change the way they light it. But there's literally 4 bits of scaffold up there that you can attach things to. I think there's ways to make it look better on TV. And actually, if you are cutting off that back row of seats midweek, it might just make it feel that little bit more intimate. You're not expecting that massive stand to be full midweek at all. So if you make it that little bit more intimate, make it so they're a bit more on top of you, close it in a bit, but actually have the facility to open it up and drive up demand for your busier sessions, it might come off a bit better.
It's an interesting one.
Yes, Johnny.
That's exactly the same arena, Johnny. There was a couple there. Dan says the 3 arena in Dublin. The problem is with the 3 arena is to hire that per night is absolutely astronomical money. I can't remember the exact fee. Matt did tell me a while back what it costs to hire it for a Premier League night, and it's horrific. So for 7 to 8 days, because obviously you'd have the rigging day before as well, it's just not financially feasible.
One thing that I was also a little bit disappointed with, I guess, was the early rounds. The amount of pre-match and post-match footage that was showing for what's already 8 matches in one session, starting at 6, and I think it was the Monday that didn't finish till about 25 past 11. So you've got close to 5.5 hours of footage, but you've got so many interviews. Some of the stuff they were doing that was fairly new. It was good to see them trying to do something different. I'm all for that, but the amount of pre and post match interviews was a bit excessive, especially in them early rounds.
Yeah, it was the one where Monday, where 4 games took a ridiculous amount of time, and then they did a blooming 5-minute Barney interview. But Johnny, it's exactly the same stage, was in the same place as Armageddon. But yeah, look, we're not going to dwell on it too much, but no, it didn't. It doesn't work there for me. So I'd like to go back to Ireland, but if it doesn't, I do worry that it will be back there again next year. Before we jump into the games themselves and everything like that, Morgan says, what were your views on a certain pundit calling a player a rat? That makes it sound bad. It was tongue-in-cheek because of his surname.
Nah, I don't like it, and I called it out on the Fallout as well.
I think you'll be hearing more of it. I think he'll use it again. If he's
fine with it, then okay, but other than that, no.
I think you'll hear him say it again.
It's a plan now, no, isn't it? It's not a...
Yeah.
It's not just randomly calling someone, eh? Why was you so opposed to it, Dob?
I just thought it was a bit disrespectful. The way they both jumped on it and whatever else, like... Just the way it came across at the time. Didn't agree with it at all. That was all.
Look, it has split opinion. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. Wayne, he was referring to Ratajski as the rat.
Stud said it first.
We only heard
Wayne jumped on it. Haha, Poland rat.
Wayne did it first. But because we don't always get all the commentary upstairs, depending on what's going on.
Nice to see Rod Studd return to his day job today, by the way, of criticising VAR and referees, or people that are slagging it off in the cricket. We took a break from that last week to do some darts commentary.
Darcy says,
straight back to VAR works, doesn't it? Yeah, look, it works in cricket. Defender of those in black.
Before we obviously move on to the games, Darcy said, why don't Europe isn't an option? So part of the reason that Europe isn't an option is chatting to the guys at PDC Europe. On continental Europe, they consume live sport in a very different way to we do here. And a week-long tournament, a couple of reasons. The general consensus is the midweek crowds would be horrific, worse than here. And in certain parts of continental Europe, you're not allowed certain sponsors, which limits the pool. We saw with the Premier League when it was Unibet that the night in Rotterdam, for instance, it was just orange. There was no Unibet branding because of everything. So there are a few reasons. Oh, Adam, I can assure you, Gazzy's man cave is elite level man caveness.
Yeah, we've seen it. It's on TikTok.
Yeah, it is absolutely incredible. And however, I did like his interview last night as well. You could see he was raging, but he was like, I'm going down to a great man cave. I don't give a shit. Welcome to the Fine Club.
Silly boy.
Yeah. But
did we get an Instagram story?
Yeah, it was all right. He was all right. He was quite complimentary on his Instagram story.
He said it on Sky Sports. Dobey don't need to put it on Instagram as well. It would just be touting himself, wouldn't it? Otherwise.
Right. So from round one, I would like your chat room as well, your performance, your game of the first round, and your biggest disappointment. I actually thought, for me, my game of the first round was one that I didn't think would be, but I actually really enjoyed Gary against Jose. Apart from in a deciding leg where Jose has a meltdown.
Not starting 19s. I'm
correct.
Have a word with yourself.
Game of first round for me probably be. I enjoyed Bunting and Aspinall doing that. I was disappointed with Aspinall, but I was very impressed with the Bunting Aspinall game. My individual disappointment, and there's a few who fall into this category, if I'm being honest, but for me, has to be Rob Cross. Losing to Andrew Dilding isn't a huge surprise. He's UK Open champion this year. The manner of how he's lost that game, though, and the performance is disappointing for Cross, and not one I was expecting. But there's quite a few on that list, but I don't want to name them because I'm sure one of them Dob will probably mention.
Yeah, I don't know. What did I like? Damon Hatter Ansel was a very, very good game.
Yeah.
Rob Cross Andrew Gooden was not, despite me saying it would be week before.
Was that deliberately a thumbs up then, or was that
the digit of doom? You mean? Bunting Aspinall was a great game as well. I sat here the last show and said, "Oh yeah, Aspinall MVG repeat the final." And the more and more the week went on, and the more we streamed the Pro Tour before that, etc., the more and more my opinion changed, and I was convinced Bunting was beating him before a dart was thrown. And I was telling anybody that would listen that Bunting would beat Aspinall in the first round before a dart was thrown. I was like, I'm going to sound so stupid compared to my overall predictions from the week before, but Bunting just looked brilliant. Don't think you can be too harsh on Dave Chisnell, although it's going to be is he always going to be a member of the Terry Jenkins club for now? Disappointment for me. Who didn't really get going? Struggling here.
Really? There's a few.
There is, but it's. Do I class it as a disappointment? Like Johnny Clayton defending 2-year prize money from a previous win, losing 2-0 to Ross Smith. Is it disappointing to have lost in the first round? Yeah. Was it a half-decent game? Has he played all right? Yeah. Gurney's played okay, but you still expected Humphries to win. Like,
I think there's some results that could be expected, but there's still disappointments. There's disappointment in Aspinall losing. I think there's disappointment in Dimitri losing. One for me that's a huge one. But then, not expected to probably win his game, but I expected an awful lot more from Josh Rock.
No, I didn't. That was a blowout all day for me before I'd even picked up a dart.
I had fully expected Michael to win, but I expected more from Josh than what we saw.
New format.
Sort of dark persona on the stage as well.
And the whole type of those two going against each other. I didn't expect anything from Josh in that game.
I was disappointed with Wade. I thought he played reasonably well in the last block of Pro Tours.
I thought he played okay in the game, but first set he looked all right. Do you know what? That break killed an awful lot of games in the first round. Is that a break after one set on a night where you've got 8 games and you're flying through as a joke?
Advertising pays bills. I don't agree with it, but when you're selling it, you have to have X amount of breaks. You have to get them in.
I'd much rather see the first round split over 3 nights or something and a longer format, and you have a break after 2 sets. A break after 1 set, I don't agree with in any format.
They do it that at the Worlds, though. There's a break after 1.
Yeah. I don't like it because they can't run the risk of it not going to a decider and missing out on it or whatever else when they go 5-set matches. They can't run the risk of it being over after 3 and not getting an extra break in.
But Barney, I was disappointed with.
Have we now seen the sort of maximum of Barney's return?
Yeah.
It's Martin Schindler sort of spoke about it as the draw he wanted.
Oh, Martin Schindler was brutal in that interview. But I love it.
But a lot of the field was thinking that.
He just said
the pressure was that one of the lowest ranked players in the tournament. Then you've got the pressure that's always going to be on Barney. So for any other player to get that draw, and then for Roman to put in that performance, Schindler's.
Did Barney's interview with Abby go out live in the venue?
Yeah.
Then that was a response to that, because in that he goes, I could have had a worse draw. So to turn around and say he got an easy draw was a direct response to Barney saying it in his pre-match. And I love that.
Yeah.
There was far too much of that going on from pundits and commentators this week, though, by the way.
What's that?
Calling nice draws or easy draws or draws on paper, etc. That's for the players to decide, not for you to put words in the mouth.
No, I want pundits to call what they think is an easy draw. I'm critical of ITV's punditry because they don't give opinions. Me personally, I would much rather say
pundits, yeah. Interviewers, no. That was a nice game for you on paper. What blah blah. No, it wasn't. How do you feel about that game? Let them say the bit on that.
I've not got a problem with that personally.
Pundits, that's what Wayne Mardle and Mark Webster, etc. are paid to do. They're paid to talk about a game, give an opinion. An interviewer is there to get responses out of. They're different roles. And for me, there needs to be a little bit more respect to players that have lost or other opponents or whatever instead of just going up there.
No, I disagree. I've done it, and I'll continue to do it. If I think it's an easy one or a gimme, I'm going to say it.
You're wrong.
I'm with Philip on this one.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, then you're both wrong. They're different roles. They're paid to give their opinion. An interviewer, it's not about your opinion. It's about them. You go and get their snap response. On stage, the flash interviews, you'll sit down half an hour later. That's different. But flash interviews should not be about how difficult an opponent was pre-match or on paper or whatever. let them get a rise out of that if they're paying attention to it.
They do it in football all the time.
Yeah, I think it's done
all the time. You hear on paper that was one you should have won, or is that 2 points dropped because it's one you should have won? Yeah, all the time.
Clearly, it's not football because there's nobody in football that can't afford to live.
There's no one in that competition that can't afford to live.
Anyway, can we talk about some more games, please?
How are we doing, Pete? Hope you are good. Right, so any other round one bits that we've missed? We've done that. Rob Cross's mindset for this tournament completely went to mush. I don't know what put Dirk off, but he had a meltdown at 1-0 up.
There was a post from an international outlet that said something happened in the break and he couldn't concentrate, but they never said what.
No. I'd be interested to find out next time we get a chat with Dirk. How we doing, Rebel County? Hope you are good.
But again, he was another that there's absolutely no way the break didn't affect Dirk. And I know they know when the break is. But if something happens in that break when he's averaging 106 in the opening set of the tournament...
Gob is very fire in his Tiger Woods shirt tonight.
My back's fucked just like his as well.
So, round two.
Again, to my missus though, so we're ready.
Find me a river dog.
Harry and Lee all weekend at work.
That Michael Smith made short work of Brendan Dolan. Gary Anderson missed opportunity. He had Gilding in the palm of his hand, and I don't think Gary enjoyed the pace of the game. And that final set, there only looked one winner.
Yeah,
Gary's brain had gone.
Yeah,
correct. Which was the worry before they even stepped foot on stage. The longer that game goes, the more likely Andrew Gilden is to win it because the pace will just ruin Gary Anderson.
Yeah,
this is where I think we're sometimes a little easy on the player. Someone of Gary Anderson's experience knows that. We know that watching it, he's got to then prepare for that in a different way, because we're not talking about someone who's only been in the sport a couple of years. He knows exactly what's in the thumb of Andrew Gilden and just needs to prepare better for that potential outcome of going all the way and it being as slow as what it is. Whether you like it or not, you get through that game, and then, especially it sort of opened up towards the back end, anything could have happened.
Yeah,
I think it was disappointing from Dando.
That's interesting, Paul, that there was no promotion in the city. We'll touch on that again shortly. That's an interesting one. Price, light work of Ratajski. Bunting Schindler was an unbelievable game. And I think Martin Schindler came of age this tournament.
I mean, I jinxed someone.
After
set one, Stephen Bunting looked the best I've ever seen him play, including winning a world title, world master that he's won. When he came over from the BDO to the PDC, he was certainly in the conversation for one of the best in the world in that moment. Obviously, loses to Barney in that epic in the Worlds the following year. Wins a Pro Tour in his first couple of weeks as a tour card holder, doesn't he? He was absolutely brilliant when he made that jump. That was as good as I've seen him. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he's gone up significantly in weight of dart.
No, I'm with you.
I think 12 is too low. I've thrown with 18s before, which is what he's throwing now. And there's still a bit of deviation there, but he's got a nice snap of the wrist. And his action is solid enough to be able to throw 18s. With 12s, such a fine margin.
Oh, 100%.
That jump, it's a massive jump compared to what he was throwing as well. But I genuinely think if he keeps on with that, ignore the fact that he falls apart against Martin Schindler, is doubling in, started to desert him. But after set one, I think it was almost thinking too much about just how well he's playing and actually what a good performance it was putting in. You know, when you're on a 9 or you get carried away, you start thinking about the numbers. I think that happened a little bit. And I also think there was a little bit of guilt from Bunting. There's no way he didn't hear the crowd. And I think it went the opposite way. I think that started to make him feel a little bit ashamed or embarrassed. And therefore, you almost don't want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, well, I'm with you on that. It's sort of apologising for something you haven't done.
Yeah.
And it's certainly impacting that way. But yeah, total agreement. I think the bunting down looks so much done that the increase from 12 to 18 is huge. But it seems to be having a positive impact and perfect timing to do it with the coming into the back end of the year.
It looks brilliant. It looks absolutely brilliant.
And Murph's absolutely spot on.
How we doing, Murph? Hope you are good. See you tomorrow. And then, look, this is one of the games of the tournament for me. MVG against Chris Dobey was just an absolute pleasure to watch. The first two sets, MVG was as good as I've seen him in a long time, missing the ball twice in 3 legs for 9 darters was just vintage Michael from 15, 16 and 17. However, across the whole 5 sets, I think the result was right. I think Dobey was the better player. I thought he won more of the bigger moments and thoroughly deserved the win in the end. I know Michael missed a dart of the ball to win it 3-1, but I think that would have been an injustice.
I don't know still how Chris Dobey won that first set. Yeah, MVG was ridiculous, and for Dobey to go on and win it. Yeah, there's obviously the 2 legs, one in set 1, one in set 2, but the Dobey coming through that first set was huge. And then for me, that 4th set was massive. Oh, sorry, the 3rd set when he missed darts. And there was a lot of talk already on socials around Dobey being a bottler, Dobey being this, can't do it on stage. For him then to turn that round against Michael, punish a missed dart at Bull, which MVG to nick that night if he'd have had another 20 attempts. Just Bull wasn't his friend, but it was an outstanding performance from Chris Dobey. And there isn't really a lot of criticism for MVG. It just got to that last set and Dobey was just outstanding.
Yeah, it was just an incredible game. But there are signs that Michael is going back to that level that we expect of him. Those first 2 sets is the best I've seen him look in a long time, on par with the final session in Poland. That there are just signs that we're getting that turbocharged gear more and more again.
We are, but we're also seeing the vulnerability of those doubles in key moments that he never had before.
They will always be there.
If you look at any tournament this year, there's an argument that Michael's beating himself in the majority because he's missing key doubles at key opportunities. He's lost that air of inevitability, that suit of armour that people expect him to do it. You think we go back to it all the time, his last leg decider Euro Tour record will never ever be topped. He was something like 30 games unbeaten in last leg deciders on the Euro Tour. It was over before they'd thrown a dart in the majority of his players aren't as scared of him, and he is also missing and giving up opportunities, and that's where he needs to tie up. The rest of his performance looks brilliant. His scoring power in that was right up there with one of the top performances you've seen in the entire tournament. It looks brilliant when that first dart's back in. He stopped getting bored as such. I mean, he went 2 different routes for the 9 darter, but his early form, when you're comparing him best ever, 2016, 2017, when he's winning the lot, the issue with Michael is he got bored. Gary was there to push him, but actually in the rest of the games, he got bored. He went searching for other ways to hit 9 darters and pissing around, and he lost concentration. And I'm convinced that's why his action changed. Then he had the issue that he changed manufacturer and had to get used to a new dart as well. So he just allowed it to slide a bit. The rest of the factors, he looks brilliant again. He looks confident. Obviously, he just looks good. And he's winning trophies again. He's winning titles again. I'd still like to see him do a bit more on the floor. His Pro Tour form is actually quite bad. And I think when you're giving players that are only playing Pro Tours for the year chances to beat you in round 1, 2, and 3, that's his issue. That's where he needs to get used to just winning again, becoming more and more relentless, because the deeper he goes in Pro Tours again, especially when he's not playing all of them, the more and more people see he's winning, the more and more that everybody starts to think Michael's back to Michael again. They still know if Michael turns up, he is the best. That's his line. And genuinely, it's true. The majority of the tour will agree with that. Gerwen Price will sit there and say it. Michael Smith said it in an exhibition with him in Derby 2 weeks ago. Gary, if he turns up against Gerwen, is still capable of hitting that gear. Peter Wright might be on his way back. Genuinely might have been a better player with Michael's darts last week, but that's for them to decide. Other than that, if Michael van Gerwen hits top gear, it is very, very unlikely that anybody in the world can live with it.
Oh, no, I agree. And one point on there, I know it's tough for these elite to juggle, but for me, he's in the same camp as Aspinall and Wright. He's missed too many Pro Tours for my liking.
It's just that sharpness at the back end of games. Like, because if you're not going to as many, as stupid as it sounds to somebody who's won so much and is chasing back world number one and just finding match form again, when you aren't putting yourself in a position to go and win games or lose games as frequently, it becomes a bigger deal to you again.
I think this time, and me and Dan debated this time on the Fallout Bar around Dobey winning it, though. I think if you looked at it from the other side, does Dobey win this game if he's not played in the Premier League this season? For me, probably not. That experience of beating Michael on the stage, and that it comes back to that MVG being inevitable as being a winner and being relentless of being a winner that we saw 5-6 years ago. That isn't there as much, but it's not that people are just beating him in the first and second round of Pro Tour, where you said it's not right, don't they? But Dobey's record on TV, I think this is his third win over him, third or fourth win over him this year. 2
in 3, I think it is.
I'm sure. I thought he won one as well early on in the year, maybe when he won the night.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about majors, as in when you're not playing multiple nights. Yeah. Dobey beat him at the Euros, Michael beat him at the Worlds, and then Dobey's won here. So,
I think he's beaten once, maybe twice in the Prem as well. But it's just that, like we said, MVG was ridiculous the first 2 sets, but it's still 1-1. Because Dobey had that know-how of still getting the better of Michael because they've played that often. And that experience for me was how to Dobey that off the line. If he didn't play in the Premier League, I know it's ifs and buts, but without that experience of the Premier League this year, I'm not sure he would have been able to still compete with Michael at that stage. And more importantly, that 5th set, just whitewash him and just go away with it. And I'm with both of you in the sense of we do need to see him back playing more and picking up more Pro Tour titles. And just go into these events and it's just going to be, this is my day, and doing absolutely back of the field because we know we can do that.
There was 2 games on the night as well that summed up set play beautifully and perfectly. This was one of them in that Michael was so dominant in one set, Dobey's back level. The other one is Humphries Woodhouse.
Yeah.
I know it didn't play out like this, but effectively, Luke Woodhouse has been broken once and lost 3-0.
Yeah. Every set was 3-2.
Every set was 3-2, and I think he led 2-1 in some of them. So he has been broken more than that.
He led 2-1 in all of them, and I'd set darts in the ones that Humphries had throw.
Yeah.
We'll use a football net spent. He's been net broken once in the entire match and lost.
Yeah.
3-0. Like that's basically what's happened. That sums up set play beautifully. Like,
well, it was the same with the Gilding Anderson
so easily.
They were actually 9-all in legs, or whatever it was.
Can't be 9-all in legs.
Well, at one point, they were level in legs, whatever it was, because we were looking at it.
2-1 in the second set, it would have been level in legs. Anything after that?
Whatever we were looking at, they were level in legs, and it was like, how?
Yeah.
But I tell you, another absolute stormer was Joe Cullen against Ross Smith. The rock star seems to have come of age again because he's not played particularly well this year. When he's had to, he's done enough to win games, but this game in particular and the game against Dobey, spoiler alert, this was the Joe Cullen that we expect after getting to a Premier League final and winning the Masters.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I thought this was going to be the best of Joe who's going to see all week against Ross, but I actually think he bettered that against Chris. And it just shows we saw him have a good run at the match play. He's now had a good run at the Grand Prix. I think we are seeing the best of Joe Cullen now. Even though he's won Masters and had the run in the Premier League, I think this is the best version of Joe Cullen we've ever seen.
I don't disagree.
I want to see more from him for the back end of the year before I agree with that. I thought this week in particular, his starting double was very, very good. That put a lot of players under a lot of pressure. And he just looked comfortable and calm up on stage. There was no panic if he wasn't getting in. There was just I don't know, the way he carried himself and shoulders straight up constantly. There was no slouching, no sulking. Even on visits where his action perhaps doesn't play up as much as it should, he just looked good up on stage, I thought. His interview was very, very good as well. The way he was like, yeah, I'm happy. That's a great performance. I've beaten a great player. Like, he did the job there. That was brilliant from Gerwen.
And I think it also shows as well with the Grand Prix how important it is to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. And Joe had that, and it was a strange way of going from 16s to 18s to 14s. But he found a way that worked for him, and whatever happened, it was a different plan that he had in motion, depending on how his dart was sat. And it was always the 16s, 18s, 14s around the board. But he had that plan and he executed it perfectly. So, as I said, I think he's looking very, very strong down into the back end of the year.
Yeah, look, we're going to speed things up a little bit. But the quarterfinals, apart from the bottom, I thought the first two were very one-sided. Smith absolutely dominating Gilding, Price dominating Schindler. We've just spoken about Cullen against Dobey. And then Wright and Humphries was a weird one because Peter Wright at 2-0 up looked in cruise control. But Humphries found a way. And going into that, the last two sets, Luke Humphries was nothing short of sensational at this point. And you almost started to think, hang on a minute, this is the Luke we've been expecting. This is the Euro Tour Luke turning up in a TV major.
It is. I think there's a difference, though, in I still think there's a vulnerability in Luke, and I'll explain that in a second, but I think he wasn't playing badly in opening sets. Peter Wright was just better. There's a difference, right? I still think, and we were saying this, look, the seniors event this weekend was in Newbury, which is where Luke's originally from. There's a lot of support from there. There's a lot of talk about the entire weekend, a lot of predictions going into the final on Sunday. How do you think Luke will get on? And a lot of that was based off of if he gets behind against Gerwen Price, who we were expecting to go berserk at some point, hit tops like he did in that semi-final and final of the World Champs a few years ago. I still think there's a little bit of petulance in Luke, and I'm not sure about his desire to fight back if it's not going to plan for him, if he's missing doubles to get in. He was playing well the entire match against Peter Wright, and he just started picking it up of the timing and the key moments is what won him and got him back in that. I still think there is a worry if Luke Humphries finds himself behind in a set play tournament or even a big lead blown in a leg play tournament between now and the back end of the year, that perhaps there is still that element of, has he got it in to produce a fight back? That one was because he was playing brilliantly in the game anyway, and he's capitalised on key moments.
I think the bit about front runner and chasing, you could make that claim for a lot of players that have they got the heart if they're really behind in the trenches.
Yeah, but there's not many serial winners that you make the argument for. It's more back at going down the field. If you look at your likes of your Desi's and Johnny's, MVG, they seem to have more of that fight. I was still worried about Luke, even though we turned his game around against Peter. But I guess we will speak about Luke more as we go on to semis and finals.
Yeah,
it was good to see Peter returning back to a better side of. All three of us have sort of wrote him off for the Clash Championship because we don't see him having a run of 2 or 3 games on the spin or 2 or 3 decent tournaments. This sort of showed there is a very, very good game there still.
There's a level, but I
don't know if that A level isn't as good as the A level was.
That's what I was about to say. There's still a level that he can get to, but I still haven't seen him go to the level that won him the match play, the Worlds. The top level at the moment that we're seeing for me is 94, 95. I don't see him going to that 106, 107 at the moment. Look, it's obviously still there.
He wrote commentary last week on the Pro Tour when he did it 2 games in a row, had 2 stinker last legs and still averaged 104 and 106. But I get what you're saying.
But doing it on the Pro Tour and doing it on TV is 2 completely different things. Look, Michael Smith dominated by Gerwen Price in the first semi-final 4-2. Let's be fair, Bully Boy was hanging on to Price's coattails for a lot of that tie. And then, again, Luke dominated Joe Cullen 4-0. And again, once it got to 2.5 to Humphries when he was 2-0 up and would think he was 2-1 up in legs, I'm not sure that desire was there from Joe, and the last set was all a little bit too easy, I felt.
Yeah, down to straight. That's all.
Again, that comes down to the timing, doesn't it? Luke Humphries' timing in the semi-final was brilliant for me. Every single time, Cullen seemed to put himself in a position where he might go to 2 in one of the early sets and give himself an opportunity to throw for a set or get himself on the board. Humphries hit him with something. And that was brilliant from Luke. Numbers-wise on paper, whatever, this game doesn't look great, but Humphries just kept him at arm's length by never allowing him to start the comeback. There was no chance for it to materialise because every single time he put himself in a position or gave himself that building block, Humphries wiped out from underneath it.
Yeah. Evening, mates. Hope you are good, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow. And look, the final. Everyone said it, that for Luke to win, he had to be level or in front at 2 and 4. Because you don't want to be chasing Gerwen Price. And I actually think, I said it to you yesterday at the venue, Gob, I think Luke losing the ball was the best thing that ever happened to him. Because there were nerves in that first set. When
the game's played out the way it has, I get what you're saying. It's a bit like Phill Taylor giving away. If you're going to play crap in the opening leg or struggle to find your form up there, not having the darts and not being broken is key to that. Yeah. If this had gone all the way, as me and somebody that was stood next to us said, if this goes 4 each and 2 each in the final set, we're probably going to punch you for saying that and throw you over the barrier. It's a little bit different saying that.
I get that, but
100%. It was okay. There was a worry just how one-sided that opening set was. Luke didn't settle at all. He was averaging 69 through it, I think. The break, in that sense, was good for him. He got off. He cleared his head, right, this is it. I'm in the game now. Came back out, won that next set pretty convincingly, and then he just got on a roll. And once again, it was timing. It was every big shot went Luke's way. Every key shot went Luke's way. I thought he used his emotions brilliantly. He let out the big roar when he needed it. I think when he won the 4th set, there was just a nice little fist pump as if to say, I've got you now. Like, it didn't overexert energy. Ross Smith is one of those that I think he's got to learn to rein it in a little bit. He will give you a Tony Adams headed clearance after every 180 you've ever seen in your life. Luke was smart with it. He played the role brilliantly. He just looked comfortable up there from the moment he got himself level again. It looked steady as. I
don't know how it came across on TV, but obviously you and I were there, Gob. At the end of the 4th, walking off, Gezi gave it to the family area, and we were like, oh, look, and we spoke about the crowd earlier on and how appalling they were, and obviously that had something to do with it. But then coming back, Luke was on the stage, and we were getting a little bit worried that Gezi wasn't coming back at 4-all, because the broadcast had started, the referees and Gezi still wasn't on the stage.
Yeah. Now, to me, we got no proof of this, but the way that he did that and the way that they reacted, and then his post-match interview suggested it was more than just the idiots right at the back that were trying to start the sheet. Yeah. Right. To me, that suggests something's gone on near the front and he's not happy. Or he's been in this situation and he's experienced enough to know that actually it's not going his way. We'll try and change something. There's 2 ways to look at that. Don't know which way around it is. No. Genuinely don't know what it is. But they're the 2 options you look at in that situation. He's 3-1 down. He's coming back from a break. It's Luke's first opportunity to win a major since the UK Open, who's now leading. He's in a position. It's not quite going Gezi's way either. He's got to do something to try and change the flow one way, or something's happened that's genuinely upset him in the other one. Don't know which one.
It could
Don't think we ever will know which one.
It could well be a mixture of both.
Yeah. It was just the fact that the game was ready to go and he wasn't on stage, which was very similar to the Bunting semi-final 2 years ago when we all know that they had to physically talk him out of walking out of the venue. Yeah, bag was on. He was off. But interesting. Look, congratulations. We've got some clips to play as well. Congratulations to Luke, and we'll obviously come on to that. Right. So
There's more than just congratulations. He was brilliant. He's won we also point out that Sky, as a broadcast partner, spent the next 25 minutes referring to it as a major. If that's your premier or your prime broadcast partner, get aligned with your governing body, organisation and whatever on what actually is a major. I'm not starting that whole debate, but if you're going to refer to it as a major win and major title, then there needs to be some sort of whatever. You can't just keep leaving it how it is. And secondly, Keith Deller, that's the way you should go for 138.
Right, so we've got... Should we hear from Luke winning first of all, but then we'll do the other players I've got clips from?
Yeah, he did. He wished me good luck today. You know, I do like Michael. We get on really well. He wished me all the best today. He was hoping I was, going to pick up my first major title because, as much as we're competitors, he is a nice guy, very, very nice guy. Michael is, and he said to me a lot of the times, every time he's beat me, he said, you'll win, on the back room. He says, you'll win a major soon. He kept telling me, you'll win one of these soon. I know it, and obviously he wouldn't want me to win one if he was in the competition, but he wasn't, and he was right. So yeah, at the back of my mind, I knew Michael when he won it. He went on to a free-for-all and won a lot of things, but I can. I'm not going to go on and do what Mark Van Gelder's done. That's never going to happen, and I won't ever dominate the sport. I know that because we're in an era where it's too good, So he won his first like this, and I'd be happy with a quarter of his career because he's an unbelievable player. And for me, if I can pick up, major title every year, which is obviously going to be my goal now, I'll leave the sport in a very happy place. But of course, no one can ever take away from me now that I've won a major, and that's going to live with me forever.
Nice touch from MVG, dropping him a message as well, but before the final.
And actually, like that, I think that's a great aim for someone of Luke to have as well. To look at, with all the majors, TV titles, whatever, to have one big one, to pick up one of those a year. Now you've got one in the bag. I think is something that's achievable, but also a good motivation to have instead of pushing himself to heights that are potentially unrealistic with how strong the field is now. So I think he's speaking very, very well after picking up his first title, but a lot of confidence going into this year and in a strong position to pick up one more, maybe.
Yeah, hope you're good, Niall. Right, let's do the world number one because this was an interesting one, and I liked his honesty with this.
The only reason it's been a quiet year is because I wanted to celebrate what I've won, and I'm not going to shy away from the fact we work so hard on the PDC, and it's not only playing darts. We do media, we do everything else, playing. We've got to travel the day before, and it's part and parcel of the game. And the minute I stop doing that is the minute I know I'm playing bad, and that's why no one wants me. And yes, this year I've enjoyed myself. I've been partying, I've been on holiday with the family, with the kids. Now it's time to work again, and I've given everyone a free ride for 8 months, and now it's time I come back now, and I'm not bothered about what I'm doing, the media side of the thing. I'm trying to find my game again, and now in this Grand Prix I'm starting to find it again. We always said this was going to be the first one that I won, like my first major, and then I won the Grand Slam and the Worlds, and it's got to give. And if I win this, that's another one I've got over Gary Anderson as well, because he's not won it as well. That was the main thing. Gary's never won the Grand Slam, and that was his favourite event. And as much as we've been through, me and Gary are still really good mates, and I still compete with him. And this is another one that I need to get over him as well. And hopefully, when I win this, he'll come back as well, and we can have more competitions again.
I like the way Michael was talking there, that he didn't hide from the fact that, look, I've had 6-7 months off. I've enjoyed winning the World Championship. I've enjoyed being world number one. But I know that has to now be put right.
Deservedly so as well, by the way. In terms of a sport and a calendar, we've said this multiple times, the top 8 players don't have a big rest period. You look at any other sport in the world, they have an off season. Right, and this is just down to the players to go and pick and choose, right, we've given them enough events, whatever. There is no off-season. There's no 3 months after you go and win a Premier League title in football to go and sit on a beach somewhere and enjoy some time with your family and take in what you've just done for the season or enjoy it. F1 drivers get half a season to go and rebuild cars and do whatever. Like, there is an off-season in pretty much every other major sport. You go and win a tennis major, you change surface, you can have 2 weeks off and do it. You don't really get that in darts. So actually, whilst it might have hurt him short term, he's no worse off in terms of world rankings. He's getting back on it in time for the serious part of the season. He's got a chance to go and defend it still. He's got used to new equipment over that time as well. I don't mind it at all from him. And he's open and honest enough to go, actually, that's what I've been doing. Everybody knows now that if they've got a result over him, he's been taking it easy. So now they've got to go and justify beating him again when he's gone right on back.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a very open insight from Michael Smith. I liked this one as well. We've got 2 more.
You know what I say. Listen, you know what I'm like with pundits. You know they say, oh, that's him, he's done and that. No. If I've got to get my bed to come and prove you wrong, I'll try me damnedest. I'll get 199.9% a chance to do it, you know. But listen, the boys now that are playing darts, superb, you know. I'm just here. And I have noticed, you know, I've had a break in that and the odd night with Ryan, but since January with Ryan coming and practicing and me going to his, it's came on leaps and bounds, you know, so it's definitely helped me. I don't know. What comes, you know. It's if I keep playing like this, I'll feel fine, you know. I was laughing because I've already heard the boys whispering, he's going to like him, so, you know, but like I say, I can turn up next game and play absolutely terrible. So I'm not biting any bullet in that and just saying I'm just here to play darts. If they go, they go.
I like that. I've heard the boys whispering he's doing all right.
3 years later, we still haven't got I just want to play darts on a T-shirt with Gary Anderson's face, and I'm not happy. But the rest of it, yeah. I mean, look, Gary talking about his practice with Ryan is a bit like Luke talking about the Premier League. I'm a bit done with it, but the rest of it was okay.
And this one's good. And this was a surprise. Peter Wright has been fans' favourite for many years. However, those boos were very, very loud when he played Ryan Searle. And here's the clip, and also using MVG's darts, which was interesting.
You've been a fan's favourite for many years. Were you surprised with the reception you got here?
I was getting booed and I don't care. I got them on my side in the end. That's all count. As long as the fans are enjoying themselves, you know, I don't care. I'm up there to try and win, and that's all. Yeah, as soon as you start winning tournaments and getting better, they turn against you. They start not being on your side. They like the outsider to win, you know. So it's that's what it goes. And now Michael come back, you still using my darts? I said, yeah, I told you, your dart sales up. But no, I just like the balance of them, and you know, if I've got to use them, and until obviously Red Dragon sort me out something similar, that's fine. I know my old elements, is it the elements? Yeah. And the gold one, they're very similar, but they're a little bit too long, a little bit thinner, and so hopefully we're working on something. If not, I'll still use Michael's and win tournaments with him.
Oh, you know where this is going, don't you?
He doesn't know the name of his darts. How the fuck are we meant to tell everybody what he's throwing with every week?
There is one part on that where I don't think he's telling the truth. He 100%. It means something to him what the fans think.
I agree.
After he's done, I think he 100% cares about that. I think it will bother him that's the case. And I'm not quite sure what we'll see different, but I think we'll see something different from Peter to try and get him back on side. Because I don't think he would have liked that. It's not like the Desi sort of reaction, because Price gets it year on year, certain venues, he gets it all the time. Peter, it's very rare we see it. And to see the manner we did as well, it was very loud. It wasn't a few, it was the majority of them. So I think it does bother him, but I don't think he's going to come out and say it does.
I think there's a slippery slope though, because the more and more you sit there saying no, it doesn't, the more and more you could quite end up being the new Gerwen Price in terms of the reaction to the crowd. He's had such a love-hate relationship with it for so long, stating that actually he missed it during COVID, missed the booze, and then the following weeks on Instagram going, I just want to play in Cardiff all the time. This isn't fair. The reaction I get, it's a very, very slippery slope where Peter Wright is right now. If he's going to sit there and say it doesn't matter to him, because people will just do it more, and then it will take its effect.
The other thing as well, he got it in the Premier League a few times as well. This is creeping in more and more.
It did, but it wasn't to this. It didn't seem to be to the same level as Leicester. We all seemed there's an element of surprise in the Premier League, but for it to then happen and still be surprised shows the number of people that was doing it. I'm not sure what he will come up with, but I think he will. He'll find a way to get on Batten's side.
Why it's happening though?
Yeah, I don't get why it's changed.
I don't think he's done massively anything wrong. There can be a little bit of resentment from fans that he's chopped off a little bit, but I don't think he's taken advantage of his position or anything anywhere near as much as Barney did in his final year before he retired the first time. And the fans still adore him. They still adored him back then. There was a little bit of change on social media, etc. But actually in the venue, there was still the cheers and this is his last year and whatever. He hasn't publicly said anything wrong. Hasn't publicly done anything wrong. He's just changed form a bit, not playing as well. The only argument might be is if he comes up with some way to force his hand into the Premier League if he's not in contention next year from his on the hockey playing this year. That's the only thing I can see them resenting in the future is if he goes, right, I'm going to retire at the end of this year. So he gets a swan song like Barney did. And I'm not sure the PDC will fall for that again.
Yeah, Mason said it there. We don't know what the trigger is because it's a strange one. Like normally there's something that we see or a player does something, but this was completely left field the way it was.
But even if we talked about, even if it was a London dip of performance, that wasn't there to see in Leicester. He actually performed last week across the whole week. So
he didn't get it round one either. It was just round two and a bit when he played Luke.
And it can't be the pace of his game because he hasn't changed that at all from what I've seen. If anything, he's playing better when he's throwing that little bit quicker because he's not tinkering about with his throw, which we've seen that have a negative effect on people like Dimitri van der Berg. In the last couple of years, he's started to get a few boos when he's slowing the game down. But by contrast to that, you've got people shouting Andrew Gilden should be in the Premier League.
I'll tell you what, you just segued us brilliantly into the next part.
Yeah.
So, today, Premier League tickets went on sale for 2024, and by the look of it, sold out rather quickly.
I should have wore a mask because Dick Turpin did.
Right, I'm not having this. I know we had it in the WhatsApp chat earlier. I don't think the Premier League tickets are that badly priced that way you two are going on about them.
$62.50 for a table in Exeter.
Or the ones that put 55 quid for a night at the darts at, whether you like this or not, the PDC genuinely class the Premier League as their second flagship event, as we've seen. 55 quid for a table at the Premier League, I don't think is bad. I don't agree with the booking fee, but that's obviously the ticket company's doing. I don't
think fees are a joke, full stop.
Yeah, I don't think 55 quid is that bad.
I do.
I do.
It's greed.
Would you pay 55 quid to go and watch Liverpool play?
No, too far away. I live in Nottingham. Champions League, yes. Premier League, probably not.
If you're going to relate it back to football, you know I'm going to answer yes to all of these questions. It's not that. It's the comparison.
DARTS show, thank you.
It's exactly. It's a comparison as well to. I've bought match play semi-final tickets, Grand Slam semi-final tickets. These events, these games that mean more, there are better spectacles than the same tournament that happens every night for 16 weeks.
But this is their second flagship event.
When it's in Exeter, When it's in Exeter, we've saw it 5 times. When it's in Birmingham, the ones we've looked at and we're talking about today, it's week 11. It's the same one we see week on week on week. The value of that just isn't for me for...
But what I'm saying is...
In addition, and I know this is venue, but the PDC should consider it, the prices of how much the refreshments are in the venue, in addition to the ticket cost, you are looking individually paying well over £100 for one night in that venue.
Yeah. And I've just thought, I'm driving to Minehead, so I can't even drink in Exeter. What a shit show. 55 quid for a sober front row table. Yes! £7.50 booking fee.
I personally don't think they are 55 quid for... I'd pay 55 quid to go and watch football, boxing. I personally don't think that is too bad.
It's a joke.
It's their second biggest event behind the Worlds. I know you two don't like that, but they clearly see it that way. That it's all there, so that it's priced accordingly. It's around the same price as the Worlds.
It's not the Worlds, is it?
But anyway, on the Premier League,
the beer's cheaper than the Worlds.
With Luke Humphries' victory, moves him to 4th in the world.
Originally.
No, he's actually 4th now. He's outright 4th in the world now. Yes, Pete, you know. So Luke is 4th in the world, not provisionally. He is 4th now, and Gezi, it's going to take something, arguably, a world win or a final to recoup that. So as it stands right now, the top 4 for the Premier League pick themselves, as we know. That will be Michael Smith, Michael Van Gerwen, Nathan Aspinall, and Luke Humphries. Gezi is all over the posters and is always going to get a pick.
Is the top 4 written, by the way? Is it still top 4 are guaranteed?
Correct.
Did they say they were just going to do that, but not actually write it down so they can change their mind should anybody that they don't want there get there?
No, Matt confirmed when we interviewed him mid this year that the Premier League is still the top 4 are guaranteed.
Okay.
So with that, Gezi will get a spot, no question.
Despite his record in it being on par with Peter Wright's, by the way, it is terrible. But
then all of a sudden...
Yeah, but he's got all his shirts ready from last year. They can't pull him out this year.
He made them into chairs for his man cave.
5 out of your 8 picks are already gone. We're only in October, and 5 of the 8 are sealed up.
If we're being honest, 5 of the 8 were sealed up 5 weeks ago.
But now it's... So, with 3 places left, potentially only 2. I'm throwing it out there. I think Wright gets shoehorned in.
You're an idiot. And they're idiots if they even think about it. His record in the event is absolutely dreadful. He's not played well enough in any TV major this year. His ranking is dropping like an absolute stone. And in a format that they've created for themselves, where you have walk-ons in game 1 and 3 and skip it on 2, but don't have enough time to allow him to do his dance across stage or Dimitri to dance every single time. Why? He doesn't win it. He's been to the knockouts twice in 14 attempts.
Because you've got 2 nights in Scotland.
I don't care. Send Gary instead.
Not a shot. Gary win the Worlds and still turn the Premier League down.
I'd rather see him in the Premier League. And the last time he did that, he won 4 games in the entire campaign, and 3 of them were on the same night.
In Nottingham.
Correct. I was there, paying £8 for a pint, and I still had a crap night. And it wasn't 55 quid that year either. Yeah. I won him on the fantasy.
So, right. Are we all in agreement that 5 spots are locked?
Yes.
Right. And Pete, you beat me to it. TV deals do have a say in this. We know that Whitlock's been picked before because of a TV deal. Dimitri.
He should be nowhere near it.
I agree. However,
he should have been in last year.
The way Belgium is...
Sitting with hindsight after his performance this year, but he shouldn't have been in last year.
The way Belgium is as a country, the way it's blown up there, TV deals, I'm not saying he will be in, but he'll be in consideration. He has to be.
I'd rather watch Ronnie Hybrex this year. And he's about to give it up again because of midweek Pro Tours.
Don't worry,
I'd rather retired Ronnie Hybrex this year.
We're coming on to that in a minute. Do Sky get a pick? No. Well, not officially, because it used to say Sky picks, where now it was just 4 picks.
I think there will be Sky execs that are involved in the consultation, but they don't get an outright pick.
Completely. But right now, who's in pole position for these 3 places? Because 3's not a lot to shoot for, when we all know they would all sell their souls to be in this competition.
It's a difficult one because, for me, the conversation should always be, and I know he's not going to be in, but the conversation should always be major TV winner or whatever it's called should be in it. We've not seen that from the UK Open winner for the past couple of years.
I can guarantee you this UK Open winner won't be in it either.
Exactly. So it makes it more difficult because...
Well, you say you can guarantee that, but, and we've had this conversation before, and it unfolded this year. If he goes and wins another one between now and Christmas...
It's not enough.
It has to be.
It has to be.
It has to be. It absolutely... One major, when we've had this conversation before, Ross Smith in the Europeans, Danny Noppert in the UK Open... Whoever else has happened to have, like Rob Cross, turned it down because he absolutely sabotaged himself on TV after he'd had too much practice. Completely different. If you win 2 of the big ones in the same year, you are in. You just have to be.
I agree. You should be.
No, you have to be.
You have to be.
Brawl 1. Brawl 1 will be invoked.
You're nearly 40, man. Grow up. You get to stay at the bottom now for your stupid opinion.
You have to be.
So you're telling me you genuinely think that if he wins a second one,
if he wins a Grand Slam, let's say,
yeah,
then yeah,
he has to be. Whether or not I find him entertaining to watch, or he ticks other boxes, is a completely different matter. He is winning your biggest tournament. You literally put the Premier League out there, saying to people, you achieve, you get chances. He will have earned that chance, whether people like it or not, whether you find him watchable, whether or not that back room of staff find him watchable and sit there laughing, going, ha, he will never be in, we'll change the rules. If he wins 2 of your big TV titles, he has earned the right to be in the Premier League.
I don't disagree with you.
Most sense you've ever spoken.
I don't disagree with you. However, I still don't think they'd put him in. I genuinely don't.
Then hopefully the fans boycott it with their feet like they bloody should do. Darts fans will boycott it. Darts fans were already boycotting it. You're already just appealing to piss heads going always in the
tickets are already sold though, so it's irrelevant. Tickets went on sale today. By the time the Premier League went up
some fans have got to come back to this instead of just going, Matt and his team find him much better to look at.
70-75% will be sold by the time the Premier League announced.
And if it's already sold, they're not putting players in because of the selling of tickets. So you should be then putting in your best 8 for that year.
Yeah, but you're not. You're ticking boxes in terms of media, digital numbers. We all know this. Look, with the greatest respect in the world,
and your competition winners, that's got to be in there.
But it's not. That's not. Otherwise, Danny Noppert would have been in when he won the UK Open.
But he won 1. We're saying 2. If he wins another one, I think
for certain players 2 is enough. I don't.
It's wrong if it isn't.
That's madness. 1 not being enough. I can completely understand an era where they're more spread out than anything else. But 2 not being enough, especially if 1's on Sky. I know he's got an ITV one right now. If he goes and wins a Sky one, if Sky are then actively pushing a tournament for 16 weeks where somebody has won one of their events and gone, actually, yeah, he's not good enough to be in it, embarrassing all around.
It still is a possibility. I genuinely believe that they would do it.
I think they have to. And then what they have to do is balance the rest of the lineup to account for the fact that he isn't as media trained or as versatile as others. And that means you can't have anybody else that isn't. Gilding getting in would change how the other picks are done. I think. Because they wouldn't have anybody else that you find slow and methodical. Gilding win another major rules Peter Wright out. We're back to that conversation. Because he's not watchable on the hockey. Not the way he's playing right now.
No, you don't. I just think that it wouldn't be a certainty that he's in if he won a second.
If he wins another one, expect the likes of Johnny Clayton to be at risk, Peter Wright to be at risk.
Johnny's at risk of that.
Yeah, but he'll be at more of a risk if someone like Andrew Gilding is in the Premier League because of the pace and rhythm that Gilding plays at, and also, whether we like it or not, his age. They'll want to show off that darts is a young person sport. Look at their 5 elsewhere. Michael Smith, Van Gerwen's not even, 30? What is he, 37? Not even that yet.
33, 34?
Exactly.
Yeah, 34.
Aspinall, Humphries, Price. None of them are 40. They want to show off that it's a young person sport, that it's completely different to your old bloke down the pub. If Gilding wins another, forces their hand, anybody over the age of 45 is going to have to work their arse off to get in that tournament. And make it absolutely impossible for them to be dropped as well, i.e. the Worlds.
So right now, who takes those other 3 spots? Chat room get in as well.
If it's picked today,
right now, who do you think gets those 8 spots?
Johnny would be in.
Yeah.
As of today.
Yeah.
Joe, maybe.
While you're thinking, Lee, there's a question in the chat room that says if Rock or Littler win the Worlds, do they make it? Put simply, Raf, if anybody wins the Worlds, they're in. Or they're offered the chance.
They'll be offered it, yeah.
There's absolutely no way that their second biggest tournament that we've just spent hours debating, and whether we like it or not, there's absolutely no way their second biggest goes ahead without their champion from their first. Not a chance.
Which is why they were worried when Phill was about to retire that he could hold both biggest ranking events and not be in anything.
Johnny, Joe.
Yes, Richie Howson is the shout, Pete.
I was waiting for Pete through. Would Dirt at the pit over Noppy?
Yes.
Yeah, I think if you were looking to pick one or the other, I think Dirk would get the nod.
That's possibly, and then Peter Wright sat in 9th.
It's
the difficulty is, I don't think Peter Wright's in at the moment, but if the rest of this year is won by Smith, Van Derwin, Humphries and Aspinall, Wright's got a better chance. Obviously, if he doesn't win one himself. But if there's no other big TV winner, apart from the top 4 already, Wright has still got a chance if he plays as he has done last week and gets to that sort of stage.
I think Dobey's got a shot of another year.
On what basis would that be, though?
Where do you get in the match play?
He lost to Nathan, didn't he? I want to say quarters. Well, Nathan.
So yeah. This year, quarterfinal of the Worlds, won the Masters.
Which got him in. You can't.
Yeah. I'm just saying what he's done this because.
As of next year, the Masters can be included in your following year, but as of this year, it starts after the Masters. Or starts after the Premier League.
Round 5 of the UK Open, quarterfinal of the match play, quarterfinal of the Grand Prix.
It's not as much as Joe, is it?
It's not, but I think
being honest, they must realise they messed up by not giving him a second chance after being a dart away in the final.
Possibly, yes, but you also have to remember.
He got that shot, and Dozer did, I think, in his year 2 after a strong first year.
Yeah,
Dozer was in a better position, but anybody that's been to that final gets that second shot.
You've also got to think, World Grand Prix quarter-finalist, UK Open champion. Why ain't he in the mix?
Well, Cullen's back-to-back semis, isn't he?
Andrew Dill, do you know what about?
Yeah. Cullen, match play semi, Grand Prix semi. Another semi from Joe might just be enough.
Possibly.
Between now and end of the year.
But again, another semi, or if Dobey can back up 2 back-to-back TV quarterfinals with a semi-final or final, because he ticks so many boxes. One in particular.
But I think he does have to work that a little bit harder than others. Yes, he had a chance last year in the Masters, but he is still ranked 18th in the world. And the other players we're looking at the minute, their record so far, Joe Cullen, gone up into the top 10 for the first time.
He ticks one big box.
Newcastle.
No.
So they can get their flags out and wear football shirts again.
He ticks one big box that he proved to the rest of the world that it can be done at the Masters. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
No.
Yeah. That box is huge.
Well, alcohol?
Correct.
The PDC already basically don't acknowledge that alcohol exists. Just because he does play sober, and those that in the inner sanctum, and we sit here telling you that he plays sober, doesn't mean they're about to publicise to the world that Chris Dobey is the best player in the world or up there because he doesn't drink. Because what they do by doing that is admit that everybody else still does get on it.
Well, they do, but...
Yeah, but that's not a box to tick for public.
It is. Behind the scenes, it's a big box. Genuinely is. I think Dobey, I'm not saying he gets him, I think he's in the conversation.
I think he needs to do more in the next 2 months. Right now, he won't at that pick, if that's the question. Right now on the site, I don't think he does for me.
I don't know.
I think Peter Wright would be picked before him right now.
I actually agree because of the 2 nights in Scotland. So what are we saying? Top 5. Clayton.
Yeah.
Admittedly, Johnny's not done as much as Dobey or Cullen at the minute either, but world ranking, just sheer bulk of success over the last couple of years.
I think Johnny's had a better year than Cullen.
Where did he get to in the... Was he runner-up in the match play?
He won the World Cup match play final.
Forgot about the World Cup. But first round exit at the Grand Prix.
Match play, and he's won a TV. Whether people he's won a TV title, and you laugh, they spun that narrative to get Barney in.
Yeah, and the minute anybody else tries to use it, they want nothing to do with it. So
yeah, they don't spin it to Andrew in.
It will be
when he's England's number 1.
Yeah, Matthew, you summed it up exactly there, which is why I think Peter will probably still get in.
He's not Scottish. Andy Bolton's not Scottish.
Yeah, but he's the only Scottish player that wants to play in the Premier League.
Send Thornton. He rocks up for big games nowadays. As it stands for me, I'm taking... Controversially, I'm leaving both Joe Cullen and Chris Dobey out.
So you're taking Clayton, Dirk...
Rob Cross. He's won 3 World Series events.
Can't see it myself. But I don't disagree, but I can't see it.
He's won 3 World Series events. If it was enough for Dimmy last year, it's enough for Rob Cross, who was in contention last year, on a worse year so far, but talked himself out of it.
I'm not convinced that Cross is in. I think he may get another go at the World Series, but I'm not convinced.
You don't have to be convinced. You said if we're picking it now, and if we're picking it now, I'm picking Rob Cross. That was your question. You don't have to be convinced he's in 4 months' time and whatever else. You asked me if we're picking it right now. This is why this conversation is stupid, because you just change the goalpost constantly. If we're picking it now, Rob Cross is in the 8.
You're 8.
Yeah.
Boise?
Not my 8, no.
Who's yours?
Clayton, Cullen, Peter Wright. No. Clayton, Cullen, Dirt. I'm unsure between Dirt and Peter Wright.
People are questioning Dirk in the chat room. It's just exciting to watch.
Yeah. I think he misses out. If I'm picking it now, Clayton, Cullen, and I still think Wright gets in. There's something in the back of my head that said Peter Wright gets a pick. I don't want him to because of the year he's had, but I just think that he will.
Thing on the back of your head is a lump where someone knocked you out of a baseball bat to try and put some sense into you. It shouldn't be anywhere near you. James, the lineup will be announced probably after the World Final. Right, we had a qualifier overnight, which has a knock-on effect. First of all, congratulations to Big Rig, Ben Robb. He booked his place at Alexandra Palace. However, in doing so, that is another... I think he was seeded at Lakeside. And I'm guessing the fact he chose to go to that qualifier means he's going to drop out at Lakeside.
You would think...
Yeah.
Why enter the qualifier if you're not? It was seeded number 6. So, why enter the qualifier if you're not going to then participate in what you're entering the qualifier for?
Yeah.
So I think it's quite clear that his intentions were set out. And let's be honest, you're entering a qualifier with very little pressure on your shoulders, knowing if you don't make it, you're in another World Championship. But yeah. Disappointment for the WDF, I would say.
Well, especially because obviously I know it's a different organisation, but the fact that New Zealand's number 1 player, top of the DPZ Order of Merit, has turned it down. It's kind of a blow because of the way that the WDF is set up. They want people from all over the world coming. And when one of the territories, number 1, says no, it's a blow.
I think it's going to be... The WDF are more reliant on these players than the PDC. So every single one of them that makes that decision will be a blow to them. It's inevitable that going up against the PDC, that they're going to be in that position. Well, I do think this shows from Ben that he's going to go to Q School. I think you made that decision. You stay with both. You're going to have a crack at it. I think he's in a position now where he can throw consistently. That's the time to go and challenge himself. I don't know what his personal life is like, but when we've had this discussion before, and you look at the players in Australia and New Zealand that might be equipped to move and give it a shot, he seems like one of those that has been building up to this moment to go and give it a go. If he goes to Q School and gets his card, he will have a plan in place. There's no doubt in my mind in that he's gearing up for this. He'll have a shot, and if it doesn't pay off, then he'll carry on doing what he's doing for a year. But this will be the result of a long plan. The fact he can't play in both World Championships will be a little bit of annoyance because you're missing out on prize money at the end of the day. But if he is going to take that shot and he is going to go to Q School and he's got to be in the UK for 3-4 weeks for that over Christmas and then potentially make that jump, the way to financially set yourself up for that is take the guaranteed 10 grand.
Oh, completely. A couple of points on what you said there, Gob. One, if he wins a card, I think that there are rule changes coming up in relation to the PDC being able to take tour cards back off people. So I think now that there's an extra level of thought that has to go into it from overseas players saying, can I use this properly? Because it will be taken off them if they don't. And 2, if you are Ben Robb, do you go UK or do you go to Germany?
I guess the fact he's in the Worlds and he's already in the UK would be a cost-saving exercise to stay here rather than go to Germany and then potentially back into the UK for Pro Tours and whatever. But that's a decision at a later date. You will... Entries of Q School aren't open yet, are they? But when they do, you will start hearing whispers about the quality of player going to each, and people will be announced on social media they're going to Q School, etc. If I was him, I wouldn't book either straight away. He'd be one of the players that I'd be standing back, seeing who's brass enough to go, right, I'm going here, and then have a pick later on. I think he's sat there financially ready to do it.
I think the financial implications years back would have meant he'd have still gone to Europe because the field was different then. Now, there's not such a huge difference in cards handed out there and in the UK, and the quality of the field is still very much so. So I think you'd probably stay in the UK unless there is a big shift of players down one way, not the other.
I think that's a good point. And the one thing that does spring to mind now, actually, is that I'm expecting EU Q School to have more attendees this year than the UK.
Interesting.
I just think there's more people now. The sport keeps growing. We're looking at that big spike in Belgium now, and over the last couple of years, Germany continues to be a hotbed, the Netherlands, etc. With the uncertainty around organisations such as WDF, you've got the ADC there, fine, etc. But the fact that darts, just from a UK perspective, or from what we know of it, continues to grow on the continent, I'm expecting more chances to have a go at EU Q School this year. More people that are going to pay their money, turn up for the experience that we've had for a number of years in the UK, going, right, I'm going to do this. Your Nathan Richards averaging 56 at Q School is not going to get you anywhere, but he did it to say he'd been to Q School. I think we're going to see more of that on the EU, which will sway the number of cards they get. If EU gets anywhere near the UK in terms of numbers this year, that's the way to go, because at the top end, they've got some very, very good players. But then I do think there is a bit more of a drop-off into their mid-level. I think their elite is better than the UK. I think their mid-level starts lower, and there's a big drop-off underneath that. I think the UK has a very, very solid middle bunch of county players and whatever else that have been there and experienced it enough. If there's anywhere near the same numbers, or the EU gets more, the decision for everybody travelling is the EU.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, because didn't last year the split was almost 50-50, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Which will be interesting. Any update on Cadby? And Malika says, well, I don't think Cadby will resign his card. I think they'll take it off of him.
I don't know how they can.
There's an impending rule change coming.
There might be an impending rule change, but he won it under a different set of rules. You can't apply it to something that's already happened, in my opinion. They shouldn't be allowed to anyway. They can apply it for the future, and they can apply it to a minimum amount of whatever for next year, and players picking up their tour card. But for anybody currently in a cycle, I don't think they can go and apply a rule back to it going, by the way, we're having this back.
I agree on that. It's changing. It's back to stuff of making qualification criteria 9 months into a calendar sort of decision, isn't it? You've got to do that at the time of winning it, especially over a 2-year basis. I don't think they can implement something for the players who have totally got a card. You would have to bring it in for the players who win one in January.
Morally, that is the correct answer. However, like when we go back to earlier, they've changed qualifying criteria mid-season before.
I just think there's a great chance then, actually, even if somebody's not intending to use that tour card at all next year, i.e. Corey Cadby, if he cannot get into the country to use the tour card, I think he'd have a basis for a legal challenge if they try and take it off him next year, because they are restricting opportunities that he was awarded under a different set of circumstances. They are changing the goalpost once the season has started. Whether or not he's got the financial backing to have a legal challenge at that point is completely different. But I just think they keep opening themselves up for this. They can change the rules, but basically the way to look at it is they have to learn from this. They have to write it off. To use a challenge tour, basically you get more input, more attention on your secondary tour, on your challenge tour, because if somebody manages to be number one on that and go and achieve or whatever, there's more competition for that as well for another year, knowing that they're going to be top-ups constantly. But you put it in a position that we're not in that position again. That's all they can do. If the minute they go and change the rules and start taking, they can approach them and say, "Are you going to use it? No. Would you mind giving it back?" That's different. But if they pressure or say, "Right, these are the rules. You've not got it anymore," completely different.
Again, it will go back to we'll do what we want, and if someone's got the money or the balls to take us to court, then do it. Because let's be honest, if that was the case, the decision now in place to block players playing in both World Championships is arguably a restriction of trade.
It is, but we've already been through that. You need somebody big enough to go and step up against it.
That's what I mean. So that's why I think
the blame on the other organisation saying that they're now first. Like, they were the ones breaking the rules previously. That legislation, the Tomlin order exists, and that they've been breaking the legislation, not us.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. I think they'll do it and say, if you've got the money and think, then take us to court, knowing that he hasn't. It's my theory behind it. I think
he could fund it, though. I genuinely think enough people would look at it and go, actually, that's wrong. Whether or not he intends to use it is a different matter. I think you could fund it to go against that. There's enough people out there that disagree with the PDC system that would go, actually, no, he earned that card, it's his right to use it, etc. I genuinely think there would be a basis for it.
Oh, I agree, there would be.
But the right way to go about it is to not make a change to that, to a cycle that anybody's already got. It has to be from this Q school, change a player doc, change a contract that you agreed to sign attending Q school or picking it up or whatever.
But
you can't apply to somebody that's already got a card.
I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they sign new player contracts every year anyway. So if they do, and it's in the new contract,
you've got to sign it first.
But it's when that would be implemented. When is it the time revoke that card from you after not playing X amount of tournaments? And then if that's the case, if he's signing it now, he wouldn't lose it, let's say, till July. Is it even worth them doing that until the following year?
Yeah.
They would, look, God, you and I both know.
You can't apply it to the season just gone and go, by the way, this rule exists. You didn't use it for 60% of Pro Tours last year. I'm having it back, because nobody's aware of that rule.
If it's a 1 year, rolling contract, even though it's a 2 year card, you'd have to apply it from this point of signing the contract, which would be, I don't know, you're not playing 50% of the Pro Tour.
I think he'd just be pressured into doing it, because God, you and I both know that someone else was pressured into giving theirs back.
Yeah.
So I think they'll just.
I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but if they change a rule and then say we're taking it off you, that's a completely different matter, and it just can't happen.
You say
it can happen, but with what we said before and the point Lee just made, they'd be absolutely slaughtered. There has to, by the way, with this rule as well, they have to have an injury allowance, similar to what they do in tennis, where they freeze your ranking for a certain amount of time. And is it tennis and golf that do that? If you're injured, you get a layoff period and a recovery time afterwards to freeze your ranking in that position.
I know tennis do, but I don't know about golf.
You can't just take somebody's card off them because they might have tennis elbow for 6 months or whatever.
They won't protect the ranking, though. They might waiver we won't take your card off you, but they won't. Look at Kist when he had his card. He couldn't throw for 9 months because he had arthritis in his wrist, and there'll be no ranking protection because Ian White will go nuts if there is after the COVID one. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Right, what else have we got? The race for, like we say, on Ben Robb, the race for Ali Pally now really is in the forefront, because we were going through the diary yesterday, God. The chances now are running out. It's almost do or die.
There's not a lot of Pro Tours left at all. 6, is it?
Yeah. 6 or 7, yeah. There's not much. Just getting the race to the worlds up. So, as it stands, Richie Edhas currently... Preston, we'll talk about that in a minute. Currently, Richie Edhas holds the last spot.
He does. I think World Championship race is a bit daft as a discussion point because there is still that qualifier as well. Like, obviously, you'd love to be in. The more pressing matter with just 6 to go is the Players' Championship finals because that's your chance to sneak in the Worlds at the last moment as well.
To a point, but I think the players are more concentrated on the race to the Worlds than they are the race to Minehead, the ones that are outside.
And for me, the key to the race to the Worlds is the Players' Championship finals.
100% it is.
If you've not already qualified for that final Euro Tour or the Europeans, the way to book your spot in the Worlds is make sure you're in Minehead. The chance of you getting there if you're not in Minehead is you've got 2 spots in that qualifier, maybe 3, if they're going to keep that spot from Bo's WDF decision to the PDPA qualifier.
Isn't there 4 this year? Because doesn't Jean Van Veen's place go there as well?
Potentially, which is more, yes, which makes me more likely to think they're going to award an extra one to the Women's Series, by the way. Instead of having 4 and 2 handed back, they're happy with 1 handed back from the Dev, and they'll keep the women one with a 3. If it was just a case of, if Gian's had been genuine and there was still a decision between 2 or 3 on the PDPA, I think they might go, well, actually, yeah, that's fine for the PDPA. But the fact that they have 4 this year up from 2 last year, they could go 3 and 3 with the women and win-win all around. Because the argument to the people that haven't made the Worlds is, well, you've had 2 years to qualify and you've got an extra spot this year in your qualifier to fall back on.
Would there be an argument then from the development tour, though, that there's a missed one there that's there?
Not really. I think they're less likely to make noise about it. Although kids are better on Twitter than over 50, so...
Exactly.
But on that would have a knock-on effect if that happens with Lakeside. Because if they do give that 3rd spot back to the women, would mean Makuru, Fallon hold those spots at the moment. And if Bo's match play spot goes down the rankings, it means arguably one of the others that is at Lakeside, either Lisa or Rianne.
There's no arguably. They're the only 2 that can catch, as far as I remember.
No, Robin Byrne can still catch Lisa.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting dynamic because I'm pretty sure Lisa would pick Ali Pally over Lakeside. But then flip the coin. I may be wrong. I think Rianne would pick Lakeside because she's Welsh captain and everything like that as well.
Yeah. What would be really interesting if both Lisa and Rianne got above Fallon. And then there's 2 up in the air. Would you imagine that?
Can you imagine after last year? There's an interesting dynamic going on at the moment.
But again, with that announcement made, why would you wait? Why would the PDC wait?
Is that this Sunday? This weekend?
What's that?
Women's Series. Saturday, isn't it?
No, it's next week.
Next weekend after.
Expect an announcement next Monday.
They have to make it. If they are going to change it, it has to be before that Women's Series.
Before a dice run, 100%.
Correct. Learn from last year when we all knew 3 women were going to the World Championships. Everything was written up. And then...
this week. Either way, I don't know which way it is, but either way, that announcement has to come before, arguably before entry deadlines for the Women's Series next week, which are normally what, the Wednesday before?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That has to come before a dart is thrown. Whichever way you're going. If there is no announcement, if you're just going to follow the rules, you don't need to make an announcement. But don't you dare then change your mind after this Women's Series. Not after last year.
After last year, they have if they're going to change it. But I'd like to think they would. I think 4 for the PDPA qualifiers wrong.
Yes and no. They're the ones that work all year for it. But that'll be a discussion when we actually get to that qualifier and everything else is already set, won't it?
Yeah.
Part of me genuinely thinks they might be sadistic enough to roll the dice, take the chance, and then make the announcement afterwards to prove that it doesn't just benefit Fallon if somebody else is in that spot. That's what they did last time. They were hoping she'd hold on, make the announcement. It looks brilliant that they've done it to get Bowen. And part of me thinks they will roll the dice on that again, hope she keeps the gap over Lisa, and go, isn't this brilliant? We're adding Lisa in.
I get the sentimentals, but learn from last year.
They have to learn from last year, but that's what I mean. Part of me is worried that they are sadistic enough to make that roll of the dice to go above and beyond to rectify the press they got from it last year.
Because if the worst case scenario happens and Fallon gets overtaken and then they do it again, it's like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
When that decision could have been taken before a dart was thrown. Yeah. Interesting. Right. Get your questions in whilst we come through the last little bits. Get them in as always. I've started a couple. We've touched on it. We've done that one. We've done that one as well, so I can unstart them. Super Series just gone. How good was Sebastian Białecki, boys? What a group that was. But it was revenge for Bolt against Andy Bolton in the final. The man that beat him last series to book a place in Champions Week. And full credit to Luke Littler. Didn't make it through on the spin, but a real classy social media post.
It'd be not fair to not say he's still a class act. Luke Littler is still a ridiculous talent. What he's done winning 2 back-to-back is going to be hard to for someone to level that up, to do exactly the same or even better that. And what an addition he's been to the Super Series. Yes, it didn't end the way he would have liked to. And from a viewer, I would have liked to have seen him in that final week to then. But he has been a great addition to the Super Series, and he's going to go on to even bigger things with the PDC. But fair play to Sebastian in putting his place in that final field.
Just great. Look, Sebastian's going to be an absolute star of the sport. An absolute star. And now he's there in Champions Week. I think he's a huge danger. Huge.
Definitely.
Especially as, without being disruptive to the field, there is that not lack of experience, but there's a completely different feel to the Super Series Champions Week heading towards this one. There isn't really an awful lot of repeat players. There isn't someone that you're looking at lineup going is absolutely going to dominate it. And look, he does have his issues with double 16, but he is also nerveless.
Yeah.
I saw a performance from him in the World Youth Last 64 tournament where he took out 4 ton pluses in 5 legs from 4-0 down.
Yeah. Oh, he's incredible.
With his opponent sat on a 1 or 2 darter every single time. The other kid come off and go, what have I done wrong there? And the answer was absolutely nothing. Sebastian just has that thing about him. His timing is beautiful. He's going to be an absolute star, and he's got a real chance at Champions Week. Luke was brilliant. I think this entire experience for Luke sets him up pretty nicely for next year. There's 2 elements to it as well. In that, performance-wise, he's been absolutely brilliant. To win back-to-back has not been done before. I'm not sure it'll be done again in the near future, if I'm being honest. But actually, entertainment-wise, Luke is already a big commodity in the sport. People are aware of him. He's doing fantastic things at 16. But those games where he's had that have been dead rubbers, where he's had the chance to experiment and go creative with routes and whatever, has also just meant that he's in the shop window for exhibitions already next year, and he's got a chance to make income on the side. The exhibition market is not what it was 20, 25 years ago. But actually, people know that he's entertaining enough now that they might even consider going and watching a 16 or 17-year-old play darts if he's going to be that entertaining in what he does. And he's also mature enough to know that you can't do those shots on the Pro Tour because it can come back and bite you. But situationally, he's been very, very aware since he walked through those doors when he can and when he can't go for shots like that.
Yeah, he's just. We've touched on it a few times. He is a generational talent, and look, now his Super Series is over. I'm genuinely excited to see him at Minehead for the World Youth and at Alexandra Palace.
Yeah.
But Sebastian takes the place. Also, Continental Cup coming up in a few weeks. Looking forward to that. The end of the season in North America.
I need to. What's the seeding looking like? Spellman's one, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, we have the bracket. Spellman versus Ryan van der Veit. Jason Brandon against Doug Boehm. David Cameron, Gary Mawson, Danny Lauby, Keith Way. Stowe Bunce, Jake McMillan, Jim Long, Larry Butler, Leonard Gates, Jacob Womack, Jacob Taylor, JT Davis.
I like that. I think it's a very good lineup.
It's getting better and better. And don't get me wrong, Larry Butler is still there, but it definitely felt like in the early days of the CDC, it was very reliant on the players that had been over to the UK and had experience and been in position that you perhaps seen in the PDC before, but were now back in America carrying the mantle. Now there are new stars to this. Alex Bowman is ridiculous.
He is. And obviously, being in New York this year, the two that, again, youngsters that I'm excited about is JT Davis and Jake McMillan.
Yeah.
There was a lot to like about those two, not only in the US Darts Masters, but the North American Darts Championship. Well, there was a lot to like about their actions, their temperament. That Darts in North America is going places.
And even if the youngsters here don't perform, this is an opportunity for them in a finals to experience that, because you're looking at McMillan and Davis as players that could potentially make the jump in the future, that could see themselves as professional dart players, etc. All around this, your likes of Gary Mawson and David Cameron, they sort of know where they are, but your youngsters are going to have a crack at this, and actually experiencing this could be perfect for them. Even if it doesn't go to plan, you've got to know both ways, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%. Excited for the Continental Cup. We will be bringing you some media as well from it, as always. So looking forward to that. Right, have we missed anything before we go into question time, boys?
Pass.
Seen his weekend, Dob?
Oh, yeah.
That's linking into the last two topics we've just spoke about with the CDC and the Super Series, because yesterday Jim Lund won Open Series 6, who's currently top of the Super Series after today. Obviously in the draw then to Larry Butler, I think you just said in the CDC, and playing some very, very good stuff, beating Martin Turner in the final yesterday with finishes of 120 to win it, I think it was, 110.
145 to win it.
145 to win it, sorry. A 110 also in there.
Yeah.
70. I think he only missed 2 or 3 in that final.
Yeah, he missed.
Yeah, it was just a very, very good performance from Ginland all day. And on Saturday in Open Series event 5 was won by Kevin Edwards, who beat Robert Ruthwood in the final 6-0. 2 6-0 final wins. but two very dominant performances in those final. I think Kevin Edwards only missed two.
We had that conversation on the Saturday as well. Yeah, I think he won at tops, but then he checked out in the same visit. I think there was one leg out where if he did miss a dart double, he didn't win it in that visit, if that makes sense. And that was because he went inside on 20s, hit the 6 going for double 10, and returned to it double 7 the following visit anyway. Like he was visit perfect on finishes, apart from one leg.
From them two wins, very strong fields then. Lights of Thornton, Mitchell, Sinditra at the first one. So generally a very, very good weekend in Newbury with one weekend to go.
Yeah, 100%.
But Jim Lund, very impressive. Lost to Andy Jenkins first day, but Andy Jenkins played very well. So no surprise to see Jim play as well as he has done today, winning, someone time 4 out of 5, was it today?
Yeah. I mean, he's 2 from 4 in Newbury as well. He won the Saturday event last time out. I think he was beaten in the quarters on the Sunday. It was a while ago now. And I think he just ran out of time, and then he gets an Uber from Newbury to Portsmouth to go, and I'm like, you're mad.
£15 more, he was telling me, just for the Uber, but for the because of obviously him and his partner Dobey. But he said he wanted to relax in the back of the Uber to be ready for tomorrow morning, and
I like that.
He was.
He lost in the last 16 on the Sunday last time to Kevin Painter, who then went on to make the final. We lost 6-5 to Thornton in that final. Painter was brilliant that day. So,
returned a big. Yeah, Harry played really well, Johnny, last week. Was impressed. Muramatsu won the Asian Championship. He's back at Ali Pali.
Muramatsu might genuinely have one of the best actions in the sport. After sitting and watching him play at the Super Series for a week, it is gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely love it. Right. Question time it is then. Jump in if you see anything, boys, as well.
Start with Matt. What players not yet in the World Championship spots would you like to see make it? For more, players for more entertainment. Vincent, Wilson, Webster, White, Ting, Mensah. God, there's some big names.
Oh, just for pure interview, Vincent.
From them examples there, without getting the list up, I could have said that your answer would be Vincent, and I can tell you that Dobbs would be Mervyn King.
Vincent should be in every TV tournament just so we can interview him.
I'd love a return to Adrian Lewis, actually. So,
yeah.
It's a long way off, but for personal, I'd love to see Adam Warner get a shot. It would be massive for the university darting community to have. Having a talk out is already massive enough, but the more and more he does, the more and more that side of the game will have somebody that everybody can look up to, and that side can grow. That's my answers.
Where is it? There was one. Let me go back, Sam. If you could pick a player who plays you in a movie, who would each of us pick?
As in a dart player?
Who would you choose for each other? All right, okay, so I'm not choosing my own. Just because his persona is as miserable as Dobbs, I'm going to go James Wade for Dobb.
Left-handed.
But you'd probably still beat you right-handed. To make sure she gets a part in the film, I think Fallon would play you, Phill.
Standard.
Want to use that bit, mine.
As an undart, I'd send Mike Myers in to play bars.
James Torrey.
Brilliant. He was brilliant in Austin Powers. You look the same.
Pete knows.
James Torden. I think James Torden's quite funny though. Pete, that's the difference.
But no one likes James Corden. Oh wait, perfect. Who would play Boise? Ross Smith? 6 foot, stupid beard, and always has to look all right. I've never known a man go on about fucking iron at a hotel more than him.
Scott Williams.
Nah, Scott Williams has got style. Just Ross Smith.
You just said Ross Smith always has to look all right. I took the compliment out of that and ignored absolutely everything.
His shirt is never creased or anything like that. Like, yeah.
Oh, it's a shame that someone wants to go out with an iron shirt. I do apologise.
Relentless.
Ricky Evans to play me. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout from the Darts.
The Taylor darts are just on my desk here, and I just twiddle him.
When he's not been Snapchatting, Zane, you can see the face he pulls looking down at it.
I haven't Snapchatted tonight during the show.
Yeah.
I'll be good tonight.
Someone's missing out.
But no, the Taylor darts, I can't throw them. I don't know how he does. They just go all over the cartwheels through the air.
Possibly give them to me, though, could you? You didn't give me the double ones yesterday either.
Well, you forgot to ask.
You should have bought them out. I delivered you a present. You could have delivered me one.
Right, where else were we? This is one for Gob. How much minimum to qualify for the Worlds? What's your cut-off for the Worlds race, Gob?
20p. Oh, bloody no. Randall, are you still here?
What's it at now? About 19?
Yeah.
So,
who are we signs in?
William O'Connor.
The Euro Tour, Players Champ Finals.
At the moment, I think Willie's safe.
Euro Slam. I was going to give you Jim Williams, to be fair, just because of the sheer number of players below that.
Jim Williams probably won't want to wear that. He would miss everything else for the rest of the year, not to be in it, probably.
Well, £5,000's not a massive. £5,000 isn't a massive buffer to Zonneveld for Jim, but it's just the sheer number of people that've got to go and earn more than £5,000 in 6 Pro Tours. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
If they want to get any other way, then it's Slam 8 qualifiers for the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Stupid! Deep into Fergie time, he slaps in a winner with a big stupid.
Well, Pete says, God, VAR, good idea or bad idea?
Pete, we're going to fall out. Because what we're going to do is I'm going to take all the footage of every seniors event where you're sat in the front row and I'm just going to put a knob on your head. And put it on you.
I've already seen that footage. It just hasn't been published yet.
How are the rest of the Grand Slams? How are the rest of the Grand Slam spots decided? Jake, the Grand Slam's a mess. Players don't know if they're there or not.
Worst tournament on the calendar. Check complete. Stupid. The Grand Slam is the worst Sky TV tournament on the calendar.
No, the Slam's better than the Grand Prix.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
There's so much wrong with it.
So much wrong with the Grand Prix as well.
Like what?
It's too short. The format is too short for a major.
Okay.
Is my big one.
Where's the rest?
Leicester.
Because Wolverhampton's so delightful.
Ask Derwin Price which one's better, Aldersley or Leicester.
Because his opinion's so valid on which venues we should be at when he complains about all of them.
Yeah, I've never heard him complain about Aldersley.
Yeah, he loves it at Aldersley.
For now.
Merv say for the
they're your big two. One of them is a temporary venue for the last 3 years. Another one is you want the format to be a bit longer.
How long is it classed as temporary?
Until we go back to Ireland. If they still want to move it back to Ireland, you can't smash the venue and say it's bad for the tour.
But if it's there in another 3 years,
a tournament that's
then their venue, isn't it?
In the Grand Slam, in the qualifying criteria is incredibly confusing. As you just said, half the players don't know where they're going. To seed players 1 to 8 into groups and then into the bracket that follows is just incredibly stupid.
That's being looked at. That might change by the time the tournament starts.
It better do. You can seed them. You can protect them in the groups. You can seed them as 8 players in there. Fine. But that bracket then has to be, you have to seed them into parts. You have to draw them into parts like they do for the World Cup. And then the bracket goes from there. You can't protect them and play the same player in the quarterfinal. The number of qualifying spots, stupid.
The Grand Slam's still better, though.
It's just not.
I actually think Grand Prix is better, but I just want to do another job.
Right, everyone, thank you very much for your continued support this evening. Plenty coming up your way. We'll get some bits out on social as well to let you all know what is going on. But we're going to have a couple of days rest. It's been a busy period. But I've been Phill Bars, Jack Garwood, and Lee Boyce. So it's us signing off for another week. Thank you very, very much as always. And we'll see you all very, very soon.
Bye.